Hey church family, this whole staying at home thing, has it messed up any of your travel plans? Are there any trips you'd planned that had to be postponed, rescheduled, or canceled? Here's a sign of the times. An airport is offering passengers who really miss air travel a trip to nowhere. I'm not making this up. Taipei's Songshan Airport made the offer earlier this month. And in response to their offer, they received about 7,000 applications. 60 people were chosen for the half-day trips that will continue over the next couple of weeks. And those selected for the phony flights will receive boarding passes. They will go through the same airport security process as if they were actually traveling internationally. They'll gather at the gate, and then they will board an Airbus A330, which is Taiwan's largest plane. They'll take their seat and make sure it's in its full upright position and that their tray table is securely stowed and locked. And then, the plane goes nowhere. After a while, the lucky passengers return to the same gate from which they departed. As I reflected on that story, I thought, there are a lot of people who had trips planned who've canceled them because they didn't want to take the chance of getting on an airplane and traveling with a group of other passengers to whom they're not related in the midst of a global pandemic. I try not to judge them, but as I heard this story about these flights to nowhere, I couldn't help but think, how whack do you have to be to get on an airplane in the middle of a pandemic? Not because your job requires it, not because you're traveling to visit a family member who you haven't seen in some time, or because you're attending a wedding or a funeral or some other important event, but simply because you're bored and you miss sitting on an airplane and you miss going through airport security. Folks, you couldn't make this stuff up. Psalm 90:12 reminds us, "Teach us to number our days that we may apply our hearts to wisdom." Or as the Living Bible puts it, teach us to number our days and recognize how few they are. Help us to spend them as we should. Ephesians 5 says, "So be careful how you live. Don't live like fools, but live like those who are wise." One of the gifts, and I put that term gifts in quotes as I'm using it here, but one of the gifts that some of us have been given during this time of stay at home or work from home or whatever you may want to call it, one of the gifts for some of us is more time. How are we using it? Are we making the most of it? Or are we just waiting impatiently to find out what the next installment of the new normal is going to look like? C.T. Studd said it best. He said, "Only one life, 'twill soon be past. Only what's done for Christ will last." I want to challenge you, and I want to challenge me, to ask ourselves, what are we doing with our time? What are we investing in today that's going to outlast us and make a difference for Jesus and for his kingdom? God bless.